2026 is coming. This year, I feel that I have been addicted to my phone, and I want to change that. I want to do something different for the next year. I saw this challenge on YouTube. It was talking about creating a personal curriculum for the next year. I haven't been in school for so long. Unless I have to research anything or read anything, it was either out of like skill that I had to build, and that was about it. And I no longer read for enjoyment. I no longer strive to want to learn things. I only learn things out of necessity. Instead of scrolling on my phone, watching all of this random stuff that is like rotting my brain, I want to be able to use that time and be able to challenge myself. So my personal curriculum is going to fall under two goals. One is to read more intentionally, and the second is to continue with my writing goals and finish some of the writing projects that I want to complete. And if you've been on this channel, you've seen that I've done for my reading goals. In 2025, I felt that I didn't read enough. I also realized that a lot of the trending books that I pick up, it does not interest me enough for me to finish through. And I want to be able to read books that either challenge me, like it's something different, but also at the same time, I want to be able to enjoy the books that I read. And for writing my book, I have a couple of books in my notebook. I have many ideas of the books that I want to write in the previous years, in the future years. However, I suck at having a schedule. I've written 2 poetry books as so far. I want to get into fantasy. However, I know that fantasy is a lot more complex. There's a lot more detail to it, and I just can't fly by the seat of my pants to be able to write that. So I have to build in a consistent schedule of writing, and I have to be diligent on maintaining that schedule, even when things are more busy. Okay, so now I'm going to focus on 2026 for my reading. I have been looking at books that I've been watching on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and I've just been focusing on books that have been trending, but I end up not really liking the books that I read. And I don't want to keep DNFing books and continue to read books that don't interest me. I also have a bookshelf full of books that I've bought in the past that I just have never gotten to because I'm like so focused on getting the most trendy book instead of just reading what I already have. For 2026, I want to be more intentional of the books that I read. So on my Notion, I created a list or an inventory of all the books that I already have. And one of my goals this year is to go through each book and read at least 50 pages of each book. And usually that's the indicator of whether or not I want to continue finishing the book or DNFing the book altogether. And once I get through that, then I can go and like sell them or donate them to like a local bookstore or Goodwill or whatever. Another thing that I'm doing for reading intentionally is I'm going to find books that are not necessarily popular in a sense, but I looked at books that I really enjoyed, and I think my genre that I really liked is literary fiction. And I also wanted to, even though I feel like when people want to read and challenge themselves, they tend to go to nonfiction. But I feel like I've read enough nonfiction books, and I feel like I'm kind of mentally done because a lot of nonfiction books deal with a lot of information or improving yourself. But I want to be able to go back and read books that I read when I was in like AP English. I want to read the classics or be able to understand the classics and not feel like I'm bored by it or feel like it's such a challenge for me to read a page through it. So I also created another Notion board with books that I really liked, that I liked reading, but I also wanted to integrate like some of the classics or some of the genres that are close to the classics, so I can get, if it like, think of like, I'm not swimming in the deep end right now, but I'm getting my feet wet into books that could take me to go back to reading the classics. Okay, so for now, I'm going to be focusing on my goals for writing for 2026. So for 2026, so let me backtrack. I published a Halloween poetry book and a winter poetry book. So I want to go and continue to write poetry books that are seasonal. So my next one is going to be during Valentine's Day. I want to be able to actually publish it within 2027 on February. So my goal is to get it completely like written, published, edited, and ready for publishing within 2027. And my other goal is I want to be able to have a working draft that I can send to beta readers for my fantasy novel that I'm doing the 90-day writing challenge for. For the writing challenge, I'm going to break down the goals that I'm going to be doing for each quarter. So from January to March, I'm hoping by the end of March, I will be able to have my second draft of my carnival themed book. Hopefully by that time, I would be able to complete the 90-day challenge and be able to also have like at least double the word count that I originally have right now. So by the end of March, I will be able to then gather beta readers to then critique my book. So then for quarter two, which is April through June, eventually like I will have enough beta readers to go back and critique all of the stuff that I've had. And this will be the time where I'll be continuously revising every single week. I don't know how many chapters. I think I will have to figure out that later on. I'm guessing around 5 to 6 chapters per week, because that is on average how the 90-day writing challenge worked for me. So that's what I'm assuming is going to happen. So from July to September for quarter 3, after I go through another full edit based on the beta readers' feedback, I'm just going to go back and do a different type of edit. So originally the feedback from the beta readers would be, I would assume it would be more developmental of like the storyline, making sure things are consistent, revising things that don't make sense to the reader, incorporating feedback that they would want to be included in the book. This type of editing would be like line editing. So it is more tedious. It's more of me reading out loud what exactly everything that happens and make sure that it's grammatically correct line by line. I'm not looking forward to it. However, it is a necessary thing that needs to get done. And hopefully by then it's like more finalized before I start looking for editors to be able to review my work. So for quarter 4, hopefully I would say in quarter 3, I would probably be looking for editors. So by quarter 4, I will have an editor to look at my work and just figure out the process from there. And then from there, I would be able to then maybe have an editor like focus on what I need to revise. And then the upcoming year, I feel like I'm going to publish it during the midst of October in 2027. So it'll give me enough time to go back and revise another round before I begin to publish it in 2027. Okay, so now I'm going to be focusing on my poetry book and how like my process for my poetry book. I feel like my process, because I've done 2 books already in poetry, I feel like this process is a lot easier compared to my fantasy book because I know how it's supposed to run because I've done it. My first step for the first quarter, from January to March, I just need to have a rough draft. Like my first rough draft of, I need to outline the characters, the storyline, and then just write out whatever. It does not have to be good at all. Just write out what happens from January to March. And during this time, I already have, I work with one book cover designer, so I just need to reach out to her by March to just book a time where she is going to design my book cover for next year. So hopefully I can get all that done. Then for the second quarter, which is from April to June, I can go back and revise everything. So making the lines consistent, reading it out loud, looking for grammatical errors. I would probably start reaching out to beta readers by this time. So it's more like fine-tuning grammatical errors and getting beta readers to go over and look at it. In quarter 3, this should be where beta readers are reading it and I'm going back and revising everything. And it's kind of just going back and fine-tuning everything and making sure that everything is consistent, it works well, the storyline flows well, it rhymes, it makes sense when people, not just when people internally read it, but when people say it out loud, it makes sense in their head. And then for quarter 4, I think this is when I'm working with the cover designer to focus. I should get like at least an almost final draft to send to my book cover designer, so then she's able to create a cover based on the storyline that I have for my Valentine's poetry book. And then by then, I will be able to have a working draft or like a published book by February of 2027. So you might be thinking, why not just give yourself like a number or a list of books and just say that you're publishing 2 books instead of creating your own personal curriculum as a video? I wanted to make a personal curriculum because I feel like the goals that I made in 2025 are very vague. It's very hard when you have just like one goal, because if you've ever tried to publish a book or even want to do resolutions for the next year, there are different, like anytime you do something different, you don't know that the goal that you have is going to pan out at the end. Like, you don't know that. So usually when, for example, let's say I wanted to work out or like walk 30 minutes every single day, and if that doesn't happen based on certain circumstances that I didn't consider, I ended up not following through with it. It was not sustainable. And I feel like being able to create a curriculum, it's more adaptable, it's more flexible. I have a roadmap that I can follow. It's helping me set myself up for success instead of feeling like it's too rigid, that if I don't do this, I will just stop altogether. To conclude my personal curriculum, I am going to try to finish all of the books on my bookshelf and see whether or not some books are worth reading fully or being able to DNF or donate the books. I'm also going to find top books that are within the literary fiction that is closer to reading a classic, so I'm able to get myself into reading more classic books. And I want to be able to get 2 books published by the year of 2027. So it means that in the year of 2026, I have to be more intentional about creating systems for me to write, edit, and get beta readers to be able to publish my book in the next year. So this concludes my personal curriculum. If you are making goals in 2026, what type of goals are you wanting to pursue? Are you wanting to get off your phones? Like, let me know what type of books that you would want to read as well. In the meantime, I am still focusing on the 90-day writing challenge that I will be posting weekly. So feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to follow that journey. Otherwise, I will see you in 2026.